is Jonquil Bass. I am originally from Houston. I've been here since I was about second grade. My family and I moved from a small town, Cleveland, Texas. I am married. My husband and I have a blended family, so a combination of 9 kiddos, 3 teenagers, and then we have lots of other kids underneath that. I currently teach. I teach 8th grade math. I've been teaching for I think 14 years or so. The time is kind of off a little bit here and there because I took off to have a couple of babies. So I think it's about 14 years. I have been Muslim since May of 2018. I converted during Ramadan at a nearby masjid not too far from where I live. My journey into Islam it came from me starting to question Christianity, which is what I originally was a part of. And as I started asking myself questions, I wasn't able to answer some of those questions. And trying to ask others or other family members some of those questions, some of the common responses would be along the lines of, just have faith, just trust, you're asking too many questions. And that kind of bothered me. And I started learning more about Islam from a coworker at one of the campuses that I worked at. And one of the things that I really liked about that conversation was when I would go and ask questions, it was a response to my question, and then that was it. It wasn't me being pressured into Islam. It wasn't a million and one follow-up questions coming from them. So that meant a lot to me that they were not trying to make me become Muslim. And some time would go by, and then I would come back and ask another question after doing some more research and learning on my own. And one day, I think I attended a masjid not too far from my house, just to kind of get an idea of what actually happens inside of a mosque. And coming home, thinking about some things, processing things that I learned a bit more, I was like, you know what? I think this is something for me. And one of the things that I really enjoyed was the peace that comes from being Muslim. Not the fact that everything is perfect, because it's not. We've never been told that life will be perfect, life will be easy. But the fact that knowing God is in control of everything, and whatever He is allowing to happen to us, for us, is for the benefit of us, even if we don't have the understanding of it right then at that time. So I'm greatly enjoying my journey when it comes to Islam. I'm better understanding or more trusting of God, of Allah, and the different things that He's allowing to happen. So when I originally started learning more about Islam, I was previously married, and both my husband, we were Christian, and just life happened, and that marriage didn't work, so I got divorced. And this was shortly after I had converted to Islam. He didn't feel as though Islam was something that he wanted to follow, didn't think it was something that was for him. And so, we divorced, and to kind of help keep myself okay, because at the time I was literally the only one in my family who was Muslim. So I would attend different events around the area just to kind of keep my sanity so that I could, still be around those people whose way of life is or was similar to mine. Being a convert, no one else in my family, being a teacher at my campus, I wasn't aware of anyone else who was Muslim. So I was kind of literally in this little bubble all by myself. But it wasn't scary. I was actually okay with that. I'm naturally an introvert, so I don't feel as though I needed to have just this huge circle of people who needed to know or needed to be exactly who I was or anything along those lines. But I knew I needed to have someone who was Muslim who I could be around from time to time, learning more information about Islam. And so I would attend different groups around the Houston area, just so I can have more knowledge when it comes to being Muslim and how I was supposed to be. And I was able to get a hold, become a part of an organization here that those are my sisters. They really are. And even though the organization isn't in existence now, COVID, of course, had a lot to do with that. I still speak to many of those sisters on a regular basis. Anytime I am out and about attending different events, I'm bound to see someone who was there when I first became Muslim. So alhamdulillah, I'm in a really good place when it comes to that. My current husband is Muslim. He was born Muslim, and it's nice being with someone who is along the same faith. He's been Muslim his entire life, so I still have questions, and when I do have questions, I can ask him, and there are a lot of things that he knows, and he's able to guide me. Or if he doesn't know, he's able to, well, maybe you should look here, or maybe ask such and such. They may be able to kind of guide you a bit better. When it comes to the hijab, no, I did not wear it as soon as I took my shahada, as soon as I became Muslim. That was something I had to get used to. I wish I knew the time frame, but I would say within about a couple of months, I actually put it on. It was weird at first because, especially being a teacher, it was within the same school year. So my students saw me one way, and then coming to school with my hijab on and dressed, more modestly, I could see the kids were like, "What's going on?" And so they would, some of them finally would become comfortable enough and ask, "Why are you wearing that on your head?" And, I would explain, and they were like, "Oh, okay." And then some of the kids were actually Muslims themselves, and either I just didn't pay attention to it, or maybe that just wasn't something that they shared. And I even had a young lady, once I started wearing the hijab, she would come up and let me know that she was Muslim, and we would have conversations from time to time. And she and her stepmother, which I didn't know at the time, we were attending a class together, and her stepmother, some kind of way, conversation went where she knew I taught at the same school that her stepdaughter attended. And the stepmother shared how seeing me wearing my hijab, that was a wonderful, huge experience for her daughter. And she would come home speaking often of whatever it is that we had going on, or conversations that she and I had. And that was an extremely emotional now, moment, because I didn't know or think or realize that this journey that I was on would impact someone, especially a student who's extremely impressionable at that time, especially a middle school student. I didn't know that I had that much of an impact on her. The fact that she would go home and have these conversations with her family. So that meant a whole lot. And as a teacher, wearing my hijab at work and students asking, "Why do you wear that thing on your head all the time?" Alhamdulillah, I feel like it's a wonderful experience. It gives me opportunities to speak on Islam. And of course, when they ask questions, not to push anything or on students or anything like that. So main job is a teacher, a math teacher. But my husband and I also have a tax preparation service. So during tax season, life is kind of busy for us. So that's something that we do as well. My husband, he's also an educator. He's also sports training. So we do lots of different things. In our time that we have available, it's like a free time, but we don't have a lot of free time because of all the kiddos. We try to stay occupied within the masjid. It's one of the things I've been working toward, attending the masjid more often, having the kiddos attend the masjid more often, not just for prayer, not just for Jummah prayer, not just for Eid, but for other events. So one of the things that, alhamdulillah, I've been able to get going is a Girl Scouts program at one of the nearby mosques. So greatly looking forward to being able to bring such a wonderful organization like Girl Scouts, a well-known organization, into the masjid to not only help our girls who will be a part of the program, but any of the girls who are also attending that masjid too. When it comes to wearing the hijab, I am definitely more aware of my presence, my character, how people view me, because at least my point of view, I think they see this first before seeing anything else when it comes to me. And not perfect. So there are times when, I may have said something in a way that I didn't feel good about it later, or I may have done something that I didn't like. And then I remember, oh my gosh, I was wearing the hijab. What are they going to think about me, or what are they going to think about other Muslim ladies because of what I just did? So I'm definitely super aware of who I am and what wearing a hijab, what that symbolizes. And I don't want to be seen as a bad Muslim, or someone, depending on their view of Islam, they look at me and say, that's what all Muslim women are like. And I don't want my or their view, because of my actions, to turn them away from Islam or make them think that Islam is this way, a negative view of Islam. So super aware of that. Different things that I share with my children when it comes to Islam is the fact that women, the rights that we as women have, we are encouraged to be our very best, to do our very best. We have rights, just like a man has rights, just like any and everyone. We all have rights. I share that often with my daughters. And when it comes to Islam in general, the fact that we are encouraged to read and learn more about Islam and about the world in general. We're encouraged to ask questions. My previous faith, Christianity, I felt like we weren't encouraged to ask questions. It was a problem when you started questioning things that you didn't understand. But I feel like, from what I'm reading and understanding, we are to read, we are to ask questions from those who may have more knowledge when it comes to the Quran, more knowledge when it comes to the Sunnah, so that we can be better in who we are as Muslims. Because of those people who are watching us, who may not necessarily be comfortable enough to come to and ask questions, they are watching us. They are wondering, I hope this isn't the case, but are they wanting us to slip, to mess up, to make a mistake? So those are thoughts, things that I think about, pretty often. And so when it's time for me to worship, when I am reading the Quran, when I am reading more about Prophet Muhammad, peace and blessings be upon him, I'm learning more about my character and how I'm supposed to carry myself, because others are watching. Not just my kids, of course, but my coworkers are watching me. My neighbors are watching me. When I go to the grocery store, they're watching me to see what I do and how I react. So that weighs heavy on me. In a good way, but it does. It weighs heavy on me.
We're told that Islam is supposed to be easy. It's supposed to make your life easy. And I really do feel like becoming Muslim has made my life better. Of course, things don't always go the way that we think that it should, but just having that knowledge of knowing that this is supposed to help me, even if on the outside looking in, it doesn't seem like it's good or it's going to end well. I know from my faith that this is what's supposed to happen because it's making me a better person. And when I remind myself of that, I say alhamdulillah, that the fact that Allah chose me to be Muslim, because that aspect alone makes going through this thing called life that much easier. Knowing that I'm not going to be given more, have to experience more than what I can handle. That makes it just that much easier to get through things. Another thought came to mind. When I started my journey of learning more about Islam, it was more so for me, which I guess that would be for anybody, but it was for me because I felt like I was going through what Brene Brown would say, a midlife unraveling. Not a midlife crisis, but I felt like my life was like over with, but I just knew at the time before I converted, just something wasn't right. Things were just off. I didn't like how life was going. I didn't like the way I was feeling. And so because of so much uncertainty that I felt, something needed to change. Something needed to be different. And then when Islam came about, and as I started learning more about it, it felt like what needed to change was my religion. More so me, and the way to change was by way of Islam. And I've heard people say that, I'm not, or I don't want to be a part of this religion or that religion because there's not enough people who look like me, or I don't feel like I'm treated in the way that I feel like I should be treated. And when I became Muslim, I didn't care about that. I wasn't looking for anyone to treat me a certain way. It was all about me and how I felt on the inside. I was looking for peace. And Islam, I felt like, gave me that and is continuously giving me that peace that I needed. And to be able to wake up in the morning and know that I am at peace with where God has me, that's a feeling that you can't pay anyone to give you that peace. And to have that, it's alhamdulillah. Some days I become very emotional when I'm making salat and thinking about where I am, because there was a time when I didn't have that. And to be able to have that and to live in that and not allow anyone, for the most part, not allow anyone to disturb that, that's a wonderful, wonderful thing.